So then Campaign 5 comes along. And Campaign 5 is the Tower of Ultimate Wizardry. Our variant, at least. It was apparently, as Zuper said, sort of similar to the actual Tower of Ultimate Wizardry. There were definitely different parts, but Jaden used some of the assets and retooled them a little bit. But, so if you've seen the Tower of Ultimate Wizardry, you can sort of understand what happened. Our characters this time around were Oracle Rayjack. Oracle was actually important to the Rayjack line because she was there to witness Eleanor's death first before everyone else and was able to see that there was an assassin. But she was blinded by fire magic. So essentially Oracle, though she had a glimpse of the assassin, she did not get a good enough glimpse to immediately confirm it, and even if she could see by sight, she's now blind. So she was a sun cleric that is blind. It was interesting, just go with it. Zuper's character was, I'm really going to have to include his character's name here, because he was like a silent protagonist type character this time around. And he rode on top of a bull that was also ageless. It was very weird. Then Jaden had a gunslinger who was mildly overpowered, because he could definitely like use McCree's It's High Noon constantly. I don't remember what it was actually called. And this is, in the update video, I mentioned that I forgot who the fourth character was. The fourth character I now know is Oracle's love interest, whose name eludes me. And together, the four of them, along with a seeing-eye Gobolf by the name of Seductor Forlorn, which is one of the best names. I know, I came up with it. I'll give myself props for that one. No. But the characters, they went through the Tower of Ultimate Wizardry. They got to the first 10 floors. Lord knows how many floors there actually are in the Tower of Ultimate Wizardry. There's probably thousands. We will never ever get to the top. But at the very end, Oracle, having experienced the loss of Seductor Forlorn, as well as the general nonsense of having to deal with the robots, the fucking robots. Oh my lord, that was probably the most frustrated I've ever gotten in a Year Arms campaign. Like, funny frustrated, but like I've never gotten physically angry, but like very, very frustrated. Because what the robots did, essentially, is when they touch you, they could do one of three effects depending on their color. They could change your gender from male to female. They could change your class. And they could change your race. This got so fucking annoying. Because they would constantly explode, change your class, change your... Like, you couldn't get close. As a Sun Cleric, I wasn't able to do enough damage to the robots. I had to rely on a lot of different factors in order to get through it. Zuper's character was able to run through a pipe. And he was able to essentially avoid a robot's round 2. I was not. I was stuck alone with me, Seductor, and the fourth character. And essentially we had to deal with robot hell on our own. Because Jaden's character was also able to escape. And I had to deal with robot hell. And Zuper, at this point, started playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, specifically Pokemon Moon, and he just sort of, he sort of ignored the cancer that began to occur. And I was there for like an hour to an hour and a half, just trying to get through the robots. And the biggest kick in the balls of all is that I don't remember how, but there was a trap that I fell into, my characters fell into, and we got reset to floor 1. And we had, Jaden literally made me go through the whole fucking tower again. It was faster. It was a lot faster. There was a part where we did a quiz section, and that's where the very first mention of the Rayjack killer was made. The Jaden and Zuper didn't even notice, but I did mention that it was Stanley. And this is a play on the Stanley parable, because Stanley's character is going to be narrated, like, sort of entirely through a narrator, instead of actually being talked by Stanley. So that'll be a punny way of doing it, but I don't know if I'll actually do that. That was, like, the original idea behind it. Either way, so for example, when I came back to the quiz section, going back on that, when I had to redo the tower, it was like one question, and I was able to go up. But I still had to redo everything. I had to go through the trap room, I had to go through the pipe room, I had to go through the drawing room, I had to go through the fucking lava room. I had to do all that, and some of the solutions I forgot by the time I got to the final floor. I'm like, alright, well, we figured out the solution, so out of my mind you go. And no, I had to remember them all, and that was fun. That was very fun. And by very fun, I mean very annoying. So at the very end of the campaign, when we got to the break room, it was, Seductor was not alive. I had a spell I could cast. I had a magician spell. It was either me or the fourth character had a magician spell. And what we could essentially do is we could pull out of our hats a companion. And what I rolled into, or asked Jaden if I could do it, was if I could constantly keep pulling back Seductor and just take his spirit and sort of essence weave it into whatever gets pulled out of the hat. And Jaden was all for it, so that was cool. And that ultimately resulted in Seductor Forlorn becoming Seductor Forlorn when he was a Scrooge, Suffunctor Forlorn when he was a Funk, the skunk thing, a Seductor Forlorn when he was a Blood Snake, Segemling Forlorn when he was a Earth Gem, I believe. High Bear Forlorn, or something like that, when he was a High Bear, very briefly before getting turned into a Griffin, I think. Or he was a Griffin first, and then he got turned, I don't remember, something like that. That was very brief, but the Seductor went through a lot of transformations. And of course, that was also helped by the fact that the robots could do the exact same thing. So yeah, like every campaign, or every combat, Seductor was resummoned into a different thing, and that was very fun. That was very fun to deal with. After that, we finally reached the very end of the tower. So again, Seductor's not really alive anymore. Seductor was able to be constantly revived. I guess he can still technically be revived. I'm probably going to allow that, but again, it'll have to be through the magician ability. He's not technically alive. I left the tower. As Oracle, I RP'd. I complained to Jade, and my character literally would not, in this position, want to go through the tower anymore. She has no reason to actually physically be here anymore. Her life was almost lost multiple times, and she just wants to return to the manor. And Jaden allowed it. So me and Zuper's character, who Zuper, by his own admission, said was a very boring, non-talkative character, they left the tower together. Mostly so that I could continue playing as the fourth character, who was the love interest of Oracle for a little bit of time, but now they sadly, tragically separated, but not really so much. It's more like a bittersweet end. And I'll probably play as him. He was able to cast Pyroblast, which is ultimately how Seductor died. It was like a 1 Pyroblast that ended up almost killing Oracle, almost killing himself, and actually killing Seductor. That was wonderful. I believe it was the only death roll I failed on. So that was absolutely wonderful. But with that, we left the tower. Jaden's character was all for continuing because he had an easy-ass time of it. I'm surprised Zuper's character, who had a rather easy time of it, didn't want to continue, but again, Zuper just wanted to get rid of the boring character, so that's fine. We're probably going to recreate more characters for that one if we ever go back to the tower, which we will, I assume. I'm all for creating another character if I don't feel like playing fourth, but that is essentially Campaign 5.